Hey, it's the Mike Rogers Show. Mike Rogers here with you. And today we have part 2 of our video interview with Mr. David Nathan Weiss, the guy who wrote the script to Shrek 2, Rugrats, you name it, he wrote it. And it's going to be really interesting talk, so check it out.
And now on the new movie I'm working on, I'm the Andrew Adamson who was the director on Shrek 2, and I learned a lot watching him. He's a conductor, man. That guy knew how to encourage his team to come up with the best material and knew how to cobble it together and take out this idea. We're not going to use that, but that's fantastic. And then he would come up with a few of his own. I'm now walking in Adam's shoes, and I was lucky enough. I don't think he knew he was mentoring me, but I was watching that guy like a hawk. And I've had the privilege to work with a number of really solid directors, who work that way. I've listened to some great interviews with Ron Howard, and he's also very much that way. And so he's sort of a hero of mine, because Ron is not a Martin Scorsese. He's not he's not one of these just absolute visionary guys. Even James Cameron on things like Aliens. Come on. And Terminator. it's a brand new thing that we've never seen before that blows open the universe. George Lucas, it's popular now to go, well, George is kind of, are you kidding me? This guy did American Graffiti on a budget of, I think, $800,000, if that. I don't even remember. And it was the most profitable movie in history for years.
Really?
Utterly, yes. Because he spent nothing to make it. Utterly original. Star Wars blew open the universe with things we'd never seen before. So, and he came up with, with Indiana Jones, with Steven Spielberg. So I'm not that kind of a visionary, but these movies are solid, and they take writing, and the writing is good. And I'm thrilled to have been part of those teams. And now I'm doing that, and hopefully this movie will be a really strong movie. I think it's coming out really well so far. But I've been around a little while, and I'm standing on the shoulders of all of the incredible craftsmen and artists that I've had the privilege to work with. Back to your question, what does a poor 20-year-old do? Well, you take some encouragement from what I'm saying, that you think you're a failure the whole time, that you think that you're an imposter the whole time. You learn from everybody. You make coffee, you make copies, you send faxes for people, you intern. I was an intern. I was an assistant. I scooped up dirty diapers on the set of a PBS TV series, anthology series, for a little-known director at the time by the name of Jonathan Demme. May he rest in peace. And Jonathan Demme was a visionary. And I was just a diaper scooper. They had this crazy set they shot on, and I don't know why there were so many dirty diapers on that set. I guess one of the actors or crew members had their baby on the set, but they left just piles and piles of trash. And my job was to scoop up all the trash and put it in a van and get it off the set. But I was near Jonathan Demme, and I got to see him work on the set and work with the actors and scoop up diapers.
So wait. So I want to ask you a question then. So are most writing jobs, professional writing jobs, are most of them in a team, or do you have writing where you just do it by yourself if you're that kind of person?
I have the greatest of admiration for really powerful, beautiful writers who sit down. One of my heroes as a writer is Scott Frank, and this guy just sits down and writes brilliant movies. And Steve Zalian, is just a power. These are guys they're like, to me, those are our modern day Hemingways. You know what I mean? And I'm just never going to be in that league. But I'm a solid storyteller, and I'm a good collaborator. So it's mixed. Scott Frank did Queen's Gambit. Now, that was based on a book. I never read the book, but I know the screenplay for the teleplays for Queen's Gambit were just amazing, exhilarating. And that's not my cup of tea. I'm not my cup of tea. I love watching it. I wish I could write that. Maybe one day. Maybe I have that in me. I don't know. I'm enjoying the hell out of what I do, and I love being part of a team. I've had a writing partner most of my career, and if I don't have a writing partner, I collaborate with whoever's around me, the producer. I pull people into a room. I say, hey, what do you think about this? And I act it out in front of people. I see what they laugh at. I play it for them. If they don't laugh, I change it. I don't apologize for that anymore. That's the kind of writer I am. I wish I were I don't wish. I've never been put me in a quiet room in a cabin by myself for 3 months and leave. I would go out of my mind. And I don't think I'd write anything all that good. So there's a lesson for the 21-year-old too. Be who you are. Play to your strengths.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions I want to cover. First off, what are the two most important questions when you are a writer and you go into a room? You're doing an interview with some maybe 4 or 5 people, right?
Interview with them.
Like an interview to who when you're meeting somebody who's thinking about hiring you.
Oh, to get a job. Got it. Yeah.
So what are the two most important or most common questions they ask you?
Well, usually in my line, okay, the way I get a job is somebody has a project that they are trying to figure out they have the rights to something. They've got a bad script that's been kicking around for a number of years. They bought the rights to a commercial or an article they saw in a magazine, or they saw a funny clip on YouTube, and they want to turn it into something. They got a lot of views, so they want to figure out how to capitalize on it. So what they're going to ask you is, the first thing is, what's your take? How would you turn this into something we could make money out of? That's what they want to know. So you rarely get a general meeting anymore. Where hey, who are you? What do you want to do with your life? That comes up now and then. I've had one of those meetings recently. I'll get a lot more of those if my movie comes out and does really well, because then they're kind of wooing you a little bit. You get those glorious moments in your life a couple times. The rest of the time is you're trying to take somebody's turd and polish it up. And so I've worked on a zillion things that never got made, right? But that we got the next meeting. And there's too much of that where you work for free for a long time. But to get to that next thing is you've got to figure out, you've got to look at, they're going to say, that's the first question. They're going to say, how would you do this? And their second question is going to be, how would you do this? That's all they want. They want you to answer their problem. They want you to solve, they want to get their movie greenlit. They want to make their boss go, you're not wasting our time. How can you make them look good? They brought in somebody, they're going to make their boss hear a pitch, and this pitch better blow the boss's socks off. So we spend weeks and weeks crafting pitches. And to get that first meeting, it's usually a phone call. Now, they really narrowed it down, but we, like on Disenchanted, right? Which I'm not going to say necessarily that I'm really proud of the way that movie turned out. They used big elements of our story, so we did get a story credit, but they took it in a direction I just frankly was a little confused. They took the story, they broke Robert McKee. He was Robert McKee is a Robert McKee screenplay or structure. He's a big screenplay guru. He was just a chain smoking Bob McKee when I met him at USC's film school. He was just a screenwriting professor there. And but he changed my life in terms of giving me the fundamentals, and he was also entertaining as hell in that classroom. So I can see how he became Robert McKee. But he said the 11th commandment was, thou shalt not take the conflict out of the hands of the protagonist. And someone along the line in the development process, long after we turned in our draft, decided it would be fun if the lead of the movie, if Giselle were basically possessed by this curse and suddenly was becoming the evil stepmother. Now, it was our idea that she was the stepmother because we thought there was nothing more interesting than this beautiful, wonderful princess suddenly realizes when she marries this guy that's got a daughter, oh my God, I'm a stepmother. And in her world, the fairy tale world, being the stepmother is terrible. So she's freaked out by that. We loved that part of the conflict. That was what we brought. And they should have chased that down more and let her wrestle with that conflict. But instead, she starts being transformed into the evil step. Sometimes she is, sometimes she's not. She doesn't have control. She doesn't have self-determination. And we watch a movie to see the decisions a character is going to make. And when a character stops having free agency, you get bored. And that audience, the audience watching that movie, they were bored and they didn't know why. It's because Giselle had no choice about being evil. She would be all of a sudden, I'm evil. Oh, I'm not evil. And we get bored pretty quickly because she's not making decisions. So anyway.
It doesn't make sense either.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so my point is, but when we came in to pitch them, the first couple times we pitched the producer, we got each time. Our motto is live to pitch another day. Every time, you don't have to get it all figured out. You have to get enough of it figured out that they'll be excited to hear from you again. And so we kept earning the right to come back into the room. And so there were several, I would say, months of development on that. We went to meetings with just the producer. Then finally, the producer felt like he was ready for us to go see the executives at the studio itself.
Cool.
And we made them cry. And we made them laugh. And we walked out of the room and we knew we were going to sell that movie.
Wow.
And it took a lot of teamwork. It took a long time to get there. And the first couple ideas were intriguing. So they kept bringing us back, and learning to not have to get it all figured out at once was a good thing, because you can't figure out a whole movie all at once. You know, the one I'm on, I've been working on for 7 years, I think, because I was hired 5 years ago to help crack the concept. That's something I'm good at. I figure out what's the concept. That was a big part of what we did on Shrek 2. And now slowly but surely, we're crafting it into a wonderful movie, and getting that privilege to be able to do that and have the time to do it is really, that comes with years and years of paying dues, I think. But it's coming out really well. I'm having a great time. But so they're going to ask you how do I make this movie a success? What's the way in? And you've got to come up with that clever way to go, oh my God, this is the way into this story.
So just telling them, well, you make a cool movie and then you have a lot of people come see it. That's no good.
That's what they want. And by the way, you'd be surprised how many people pitch that.
You're kidding me.
What they'll say is, yeah, then we're going to open up with some really funny stuff, and then there's going to be some really scary stuff, and then we really think there's something about the stepmother. And
Wow.
you know, if I boil down pitches, that's what we pitched. We pitched on the first Disenchanted, and it didn't stay in the movie, but it really caught their attention. We said, look, our question for this is, where's the, I forgot the little girl's name now, it's been so a while, but where's the little girl's mom, the real mom? Where is she? She left in the first movie, and it broke Dad's heart. He just talks about how sad she is, a brief scene. So we go right to the pain. Where is she? And what would happen if she came back? And what would happen if she came back and said, I know I have no right to be here because I abandoned my daughter. Got it. So let's stop talking about that particular movie, only because I was going to get into long, boring story points. The point was, when you go into these meetings and you're pitching, what you're looking for is, as Mark Twain famously said, you need to surprise the audience with the expected. Mm-hmm. The audience in this case is the executives that you're pitching to. You need for them to go, oh my God, of course, that's the way in. And I'll just give you an example of things that got us the next meeting. It didn't necessarily sell the movie in the room. Some of these things did. Our pitch on Shrek 2, though, they told us, thank you very much. We're going to listen to some more writers and we'll be back to you on Friday. That was on Monday, I think. So we were going to wait all week. They were going to meet other writers. We got a call that night and they hired us. So wow. What sold that was, we walked in, we said, why is the king in such a hurry to get his daughter married off to Prince Charming, to a prince? Why is he so upset about her being an ogre?
He's got a job.
What's his story? Yeah, that'd be good. And what we pitched in the room was, the king was an ogre, and the king was a frog, uh-huh. And he was the prince and he had the magic kiss and he turned into this king, and so he's ashamed of he's hiding a secret. He's ashamed, he's embarrassed about who he really was or really is, and so many of us can relate to that, keeping our true self hidden.
Yeah.
So, and they were like, wow, that's interesting. Of course, the king was a frog. That's why he goes on this whole crazy journey. He made this dark deal with the fairy godmother, and they were like, wow, that's interesting. And then my writing partner, that was my pitch. My writing partner, just for whatever giggles, pitched the idea that the gingerbread man makes that giant, Mogi, I forgot what his name was, Be Good, whatever his name was, the giant gingerbread monster, and so that kind of the 1-2 punch. And we had some other stuff, but those were the headlines. They actually hired us based on those because they really needed to get moving. So, and Disenchanted, we asked that question, where's that girl's mom, and what happens when she comes back and is nice and feels bad and just wants, if you can just if I could just have a coffee with her now and then, but I totally understand. And that's like Giselle's worst nightmare. Now they got this other mom in the picture and she's nice. And that's how she becomes her own anxiety about this causes her to make some decisions that are not great, and she's distancing herself from her daughter. The real question of who's really a mom, and it was deep, it was rich stuff, and they got very intrigued by that. And unfortunately, as things went on, a new director and other stuff, and it got, people got enamored of silly ideas like, well, it'd be funny if she's like Doc Ock and she's fighting this thing that's making her evil.
I know what Doc Ock is.
Okay, good. That's a funny dynamic. It's a fun dynamic on your villain, because you want to know why he doesn't want to be evil, but he's the villain, not my heroine. Anyway, so those kinds of things. And there were a number of different projects where we pitched and we came up with, my writing partner had a great take into Ice Cube's Are We There Yet? It's a silly movie, but it was just silly when we came on. It was just a silly, kids are a pain in the ass. And David asked the question, why are these kids being such a dark, horrible pain in the ass? They're unlikable. And he realized, they don't want to just not go with this guy to see their mom. They want to go with their dad. They want to go see their dad, trying to get to their dad. And when you realize that, the parents are divorced and it's mom's weekend or whatever, mom's week, and they want to see their dad, now you can feel for them. So those kinds of, you're surprised, and it wasn't none of the original material, it wasn't in the original draft. But you're surprising the audience. Of course, they've got a dad. Of course, there's a divorce. They're going to miss their dad. Duh. But until you think of that, dad, it sounds obvious till you think of it. And when you see this stuff, you're like, well, that was so simple. Yeah, it was simple once it was there. So you got to do that. You got to walk in the room and surprise them with the expected.
Wow. So anyways, David, this is great. You've given me so much information for our readers and for our listeners too. This has been very good. And I would like to, I think this is going to be a really, really good article. So I would like to maybe have you come on again and talk about other things, because I bet if I can do a good job about this, I can write a really good article with what you've given me. I'm going to change the order about some things, but
you can write a good article with a phone book. I've read a number of your articles, and you are a gifted. I'm so excited that you're interviewing me and I can't wait to see what you do, because everything I've read that you've done has been so much fun, and you've got such a fun way of making things interesting.
I'm very cynical, David.
You are, but you are cynical. Your stuff is definitely cynical. But there's a self-deprecating humility to your cynicism, and it's very funny and witty, and you find humor in everybody's foibles, including your own. So hopefully you won't embarrass me by pointing out too many foibles. But
I'm gonna make you look really good. So let me hang this up.